The Food Science Foodie.
Hey guys, the Food Science Foodie here today, and we are going to talk about food science. What is food science? So, hey man, you're a food scientist? Great. That means you can give me a recipe on like spaghetti or something, cause I've been needing something new to eat, and who else to ask? Pish posh, no, you crazy fool. It does not mean he's going to be a chef. It means that he's going to tell us what we can eat, what is good for us, what is bad for us, the right amount of nutrition and fiber and all of that kind of a thing. Okay, so no, I'm not a chef. Chefs go to culinary school, and not all food scientists like to cook, and also, I'm not a nutritionist. See, a nutritionist looks at what happens to the food after it enters the body, and a food scientist is going to look at everything that happens before the food gets to the body to make sure it gets to your body successfully and, without bacteria or without mold or without anything that's going to harm you or hurt you or something that you might think is disgusting. So food science is really a broad field of study with lots of applications throughout industry. So really, I want to focus on just a couple of the major ones. So if you go into food science, you'll hear a lot about quality control and food safety. You also hear a lot about research and development or product development. And so I want to talk a little bit about each of those. So let's start with product development. Product development or research and development will be looking at, how can we improve products? How can we make changes within products to make them healthier or to meet consumer needs and wants, whether that be low sodium, low fat, non-GMO, whatever it is that the consumer is wanting, how can we do that? Or it could be, what is the new product? How are we going to develop a new product, mass scale, that's going to last, at least a year on shelf life, and then have, a key component such as low fat, low sodium, or include ancient grains, or, what is it that we're trying to achieve? What kind of products we want to create? Whereas we can think of quality control and food safety as being what it sounds like, making sure that, nothing's going to grow in the food, making sure that the Cheerios that I buy always taste the same. So let's look at a couple products real quick. So when you look at these two products, you really think, wow, how did they come up with chocolate peanut butter pie Oreos or with poppables? How did they get this potato chip like snack into this light and airy, almost like a Cheeto, structure? So those are really innovations. Those are things that are something that product development R&D has really worked on, and it popped out something new. But then when you think, well, how do they make sure that they all look the same? How do they mass manufacture this? How does the process work? How do they ensure that Oreos stay crisp? Because any consumer that gets an Oreo that's soggy from the package is obviously not going to be happy. How do they make sure that this filling isn't going to cause this cookie to become, soggy and no good? So there's a lot that goes on with this. You've got flavor chemists that are involved in coming up with getting these kinds of flavors that you can have dissolved in the cream here to get you those characteristic flavors that you're expecting. You've got people that are working to make sure that the quality is the same. So to make sure that there's the same amount of cream on each Oreo, or to make sure that each of these poppables is round and that they have the same amount of salt. So really, product development has to work really closely with quality to make sure that they're setting standards that quality will enforce. So quality is also going to make sure that, what's the sodium content in my potato chips? Are we meeting that sodium content, what we're claiming? Because that's both, a health concern as well as a consumer, quality standpoint. If I eat a potato chip and it's not salty, I don't want that potato chip. So that's really important to making sure that we have satisfied and happy customers. Just think about, what do you want to eat? Do you want to eat something that's gross? Do you want to open up a bag and find all of them look like this, crushed? That's something that is unacceptable. That's a quality thing. But also, how is it that my salsa has a shelf life, let's see, it's 2018, of 2 years to 2020? Why is it that after I open it, it says to refrigerate it? How do they prevent the mold from growing when it's in the can? Or Tostitos scoops. These are something that we obviously expect to have that characteristic scoop. And if I buy these and there are a bunch of them crushed up, I'm not happy. So how do they ensure that? How do they make these at such a large scale? So all of these are just bits and pieces of food science questions. I mean, you can really go into it. If you think about it, just stop and think about one of these chips, okay? It's made from corn. So how do you source thousands of pounds of corn? Where are you going to get it from? How are you going to ensure that it's not got anything wrong with it, toxins? How do you make sure that all of these have the same brown color? There are really way more questions going on in each of these foods than what might meet the eye. Food science is really a broad field that includes everything from farm to fork. Farmers grow crops and we turn those crops into food. It's really what kind of packaging are we using to make sure that the food makes it from one place to another, whether that be to a manufacturer or directly to the grocery store, or whether it be ensuring that the packaging keeps moisture out and pests out so that we can ship it halfway around the world. How do we make sure that a product lasts 1 or 2 years and that at that 2-year mark that it's going to have all the nutrition that we're claiming? In the United States, if it has naturally present vitamins and minerals, those have to be present at least 80% of what we're claiming on the label. And if we fortified it, it have to be there at least 100% of what we're claiming. So that means, how do we make sure that that's happening, that we prevent vitamins from degrading and that kind of thing? So food science really is in depth. There's nutrition analysis and all kinds of chemical analyses that, we didn't really get into in this video, but keep an eye out because in future videos we'll be getting into a lot more. So stay tuned. This is a broad field and there's a lot to be learned.
The Food Science Foodie.